Steve Cohen strikes again. Well, what do I mean by that? Steve Cohen supposedly had a very significant sit down with Pete Alonso, Scott Boras, David Stearns. Everybody got together, hashed a lot of complaints that Pete Alonso had, feelings. The guy wasn't happy. He was extremely not happy. This Tuesday, Steve Cohen flew down to Tampa and had a very important sit down that maybe, quite possibly, changed the trajectory of the New York Mets season. So we're going to get into the inside details. Unfortunately, Mike Puma of the Post reported it, had the story. You got to pay for it. But what I did do for us is I paid for access to the New York Post article so we can go over it together. So stay tuned. Very significant stuff, folks. Very significant stuff that honestly, I'm so thankful for Steve Cohen. I certainly am. I mean, I'm just thinking the last 4 years, Lindor, even it didn't work out. Guys like Scherzer, Verlander, Soto, now Alonso. This wouldn't have happened without Steve and Alex Cohen. So let's just keep that in mind and how different, how unique this man is. All right, folks, before we get into the video, I got to thank you, as always, for your continued support, your great commentary. Keep it up. Start this video off right. Smash that like button if you are brand new Mets fan or MLB fan. If you are a passionate MLB fan, I'd love you to join the channel. Hit that like button as well and subscribe. Join us. Where we are continuing to grow. And I also want to mention, I mentioned in our last video, and this was a lot of feedback from great members of part of the channel. I want to reward and thank people for helping support this channel. So what I'm going to do is on the milestones, I said our next milestone was 4K subscribers. I'm going to give back to our members. I'm going to do a $50 gift card at 4,000. Then I'm going to do, as we get higher and higher, 5,000. I want to do a jersey giveaway. At 3,500, I just want to test out how things are working. So what I will probably do is start it off with a $25 gift card. You got to be, obviously, subscribed just so you know what's going on. In the future, I'm going to open it up to a larger base. But right now, since we are a very new and growing, I want to reward our members. So thank you to the new members who just joined in the last couple of days. Thank you, Chloe 2016 just joined yesterday. Sharon, thank you so much. Just joined yesterday. Maxim Minaris, thank you so much for again joining yesterday, supporting the channel. All these giveaways will be exclusive in the beginning to members. And folks, if you are a member, we just opened up I just started the members a couple of weeks ago. I think I have like 6 or 7 members. So, you stand a good chance for these giveaways if you join our membership. And like I said, I want to give back. So again, check it out. Check out the memberships. And again, thank you for all the new memberships. Really helps support the channel, really does. Okay, so let's get into what I think was very I'm trying to think of the right word because this is very unique. This is a very unique thing that happened on Tuesday. This sit down between Pete Alonso, his reps, and the New York's front office. And I would say it's unique because we have an owner who is so involved in making sure we secure top talent. At the end of the day, there was a lot of mumbo jumbo. Boras used the media to convey his side of things. Obviously the Mets, they conveyed their feelings through the media as well. And nothing bigger than what Steve Cohen conveyed on Amazing's Day 2 weeks ago. I mean, that was a really I would say that was the point where both sides, maybe emotions were at their highest. You could clearly see Steve Cohen and David Stearns were really, Steve Cohen specifically, very emotional. He expressed being exhausted. I mean, this thing dragged on and it dragged on, and both sides felt a certain way, and it wasn't good. Both sides needed each other. Both sides, to an extent, and it really came to fruition the other day, wanted each other. But if you don't feel the other side really wants you, you're not going to put pen to paper. So exclusive. Let's get into the exclusive article. I want to give credit to Mike Puma, and he details inside the Pete Alonso, Steve Cohen sit down that eventually brought the slugger back to the New York Mets. And this is the first time I actually, purchased this inside access. I mean, I really wish that like we all had access to this, but as long as I have this, I want to share as much as I can with you all. So we'll go through this together. Okay. So in the end, it was an old-fashioned sit-down between the two principals that helped finish the deal that brought Pete Alonso back to the Mets. On Tuesday, team owner Steve Cohen flew to Tampa, where Alonso resides, and along with president of baseball operations David Stearns, they met with Alonso and the first baseman's reps, Scott Boras. For about 3 hours, the group convened at Stovall House, a social club which Alonso belongs to. Okay. Again, very interesting, very unique. Steve Cohen, and you've heard Steve Cohen flying all over the world to express interest in players. Whether he's going to Japan, whether he's going to California, now he's going to Florida. He will do whatever it takes to secure top talent. And the thing is, Steve Cohen being in his business, he knows how important a face-to-face is. It just means so much more than a 2-minute telephone call that probably 99% of other owners makes. Yes, they'll try to get involved. They'll take 2 seconds out of their busy day. No, Steve Cohen blocks off a day in his calendar. It dedicates it exclusively to Soto, exclusively to Alonso. Very important. Okay, so a day later, after the sit down, Alonso agreed to a 2-year contract worth $54 million and a return to the Mets. The deal obviously includes that all important 1-year opt out, the opt out after the first season, and a $10 million signing bonus. Alonso, according to sources, had not spoken directly with Cohen during his free agency prior to the meeting in Tampa. And folks, I got to say, we got a lot of things right on this channel, a lot of things. And I don't mean to brag, but that was one of the most important things that I mentioned about that Steve Cohen when he expressed himself on Amazing's Day. I said, I guarantee you that was the first time Steve Cohen expressed his feelings and had a chance to, show the polar bear how he felt. That was the first time because I knew there was no dialogue between Steve Cohen and Pete Alonso. I guarantee the whole time Pete Alonso was talking to Boras and Boras was negotiating with Stern. And the whole time Pete Alonso was getting all these negative details and these lowball offers, I guarantee he was saying, hey, I wonder what Steve Cohen thinks. I wonder if Steve Cohen knows what David Stearns is doing to me. So that's why I think it was very important for Steve Cohen to come out and express, I support what David Stearns is doing. And maybe if we go back in time and we think about Jim Duquette, and Jim Duquette was right. Jim Duquette was right weeks ago. I think he said about six weeks ago. He was saying that it would take Steve Cohen getting involved to get this deal done. And from his lips, it was exactly what needed to happen. Exactly what needed to happen. So Alonso, according to sources, had not spoken to Cohen. Very amazing, very amazing. But obviously, we knew that was the case. We predicted that was the case. So the sit down served the purpose of Cohen and Stearns assuring the slugger that he was still wanted while providing their perspective. And it seemed like Pete Alonso was extremely hurt. He was extremely hurt. His ego was hurt. His pride was hurt. He needed these words of reassurance from Cohen, from Stearns, that they actually wanted him. So Cohen and Stearns listened listened, and this is what I found amazing, as Alonso outlined his frustrations of not receiving the type of offer from the Mets, given his productivity and what he meant to the organization that he believed he deserved. So, I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing. So, number one, Alonso wanted to hear that the Mets wanted him. Okay. I mean, obviously they flew, down to Florida. They did want him, but he wanted to hear that. He needed to hear that. And then he needed to vent. He needed to vent. And that was the thing. He's sitting stirring, saying, I averaged 43 home runs. 50, I won rookie of the year. All these great accomplishments. And why wasn't he getting that $150 million offer that was at least that was offered a year ago? Like, literally, why are you trying to kind of lowball me in the eyes of Alonso, right? We know better, but Alonso needed to get this off his chest. I mean, and the details here are amazing. Mike Puma, great job, great reporting. So Cohen responded like this. He told Alonso, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Cohen made it clear to Alonso that the system was in large part responsible. As a player receiving a qualifying offer this season, Alonso had a draft pick compensation attached to him. And then he also explained that teams are generally reluctant to surrender a draft pick for a 30-year-old player, especially one on a bridge contract who might opt out early in the deal. Alonso, of note, cannot receive another qualifying offer, leaving him unshackled to shoot for a larger payday next year. But folks, that is amazing. Alonso wanted to hear from Cohen's perspective, why have you treated me so badly, in his perspective? And Cohen basically, in this right here, Cohen doesn't say anything mind-blowing. He just basically states stuff that Alonso knows, that he blames it on the system. Cohen says that players in your situation, 30-year-old first baseman with a qualifying offer, a qualifying draft pick attached to them, don't traditionally get these big offers. And Alonso, and I'm pretty sure Boras, and that's where there was a big, you know what? If I really analyze that, I kind of think that is a shot at Boras. I mean, look at this with this saying. Cohen made it clear to Alonso that the system was in large part responsible. A 30-year-old first baseman with a compensation pick. That, in my opinion, is Cohen really knocking Boras, saying, hey, you know what? This is how things have been done. 30-year-old first baseman with a draft pick. You didn't know this? You didn't know this? Scott Boras didn't inform you. So honestly, that is a direct shot at Mr. Scott Boras, saying it's the system. And honestly, that is Boras's fault for kind of like shooting a lot of crap. Or, I think that Boras really, and I'm going to continue to say this, whether you like Pete or don't like Pete, I think Pete was really royally screwed by Scott Boras. Royally. And if you listen to the podcast that's really good, the former, and one of the subscribers actually turned me on to that podcast. It was the general manager or former general manager of the Marlins. Oh, David Sampson. So I listened to his podcast today because he used to deal directly with Scott Boras about the players. And he basically said Scott Boras will lie. He will tell you whatever you want to hear if you're the player. He'll feed you a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of BS, feed into your ego. And then, when the deal is not there, you're left blowing in the wind, wondering what the hell happened. What the hell happened? So, Scott Boras did not do a good job. Scott Boras is the reason. And it's always the Scott Boras big clients that are dangling at the end. I mean, these are guys that should be signed. Like, if you go back to last year, guys like Matt Chapman, gold glove or platinum glove winning third baseman who can pop 20 plus home runs. The guy had like a 6 or 7 wins above replacement. Clearly a winning player. Blake Snell, former Cy Young Award winner. These guys shouldn't be lingering all throughout the offseason. But it's Boras who screws up their contract negotiation and did it again with Mr. Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso had a bigger contract last year. Scott Boras, no, I can get you a bigger one. So the expectations for Pete Alonso going into this free agency was up here. When in reality, the whole time, what Steve Cohen just laid out. Your expectation should have been here the whole time. A 30-year-old first baseman with the compensation pick attached to them. This is what the system says you are worth. This is what the market says you are worth. And I also heard J.D. Martinez on Foul Territory today. And Foul Territory, another great podcast. A lot of great podcasts out there. A lot of great resources. And J.D. Martinez said he had the same issue when he went into free agency in 2018. Nobody knocked. Nobody knocked. And finally, the only team that offered JD Martinez, and JD Martinez was coming off of a monster season, and he ended up getting a 5-year, $110 million contract. Folks, you want to know what that is? That is $22 million a year. $22 million a year. Not that long ago. So Pete making that $30 million in year one, was a really great thing. And let's go over some more details because there was some more really surprising details to this whole sit down. Okay, so finally, Cohen, as a measure of respect for Alonso and in an attempt to finalize a deal, raised the offer in terms of AAV for the 2-year deal. The $30 million that Alonso will receive this season is the highest in the game. Folks, before Tuesday, Alonso wasn't getting $30 million for year one. He wasn't getting an average annual value of $27 million for the 2 years. The Mets literally sweetened the pie a day before. So yes, they've been having a hard line stance, but in order to secure the services of the polar bear, in order for both sides to walk away with their heads up high, because folks, it is so important. You cannot, I know like there's some very shrewd people saying, oh, you got to get the guy for as cheap as possible. You got to get value. Folks, at the end of the day, you want a happy player playing for you. You do not want a disgruntled polar bear. You don't want a disgruntled polar bear. So I mean, you really want the guy to be happy. And folks, if you haven't got a chance, please please subscribe. Again, I purchased this subscription just specifically for you. I don't mean to guilt you, just stating facts. Okay, so I thought that was also fascinating too, that the deal went up the day before he signed. And also too, another thing that came out in this article, and it said that the Mets had initially offered $85 million over 3 years. So the initial offer, I know there was an offer out there 3 years, and it was believed to be between 68 and 70. But now here's another one. The Mets initially offered $85 million over 3 years, but had heavy deferrals in the deal that lowered the present day value, that prevented Alonso from accepting. Later, the Mets offered $71 million over 3 years. Okay, so that must be the deal between 68 and 70. So, folks, in the grand scheme of things, and I said the Mets offered at least 3 deals, but it turns out, so the Mets offered the initial 7-year, $156 million. That's one. Then they offered 3 years, $85 million, and that must have been like a little after Christmas. That's when we heard that the Mets were at around 3 years, $90 million. So then they offered that deal. Then the Mets offered the 3-year, $71 million, and then the Mets offered this 2-year, $54 million. So 4 deals. They made 4 deals. So they did want the guy. And it is important to note that this deal that Alonso signed did have no deferrals. So, the Mets were able to check a lot of boxes off. They avoided a lot of long-term risk. They got Alonso back on a short-term contract, right? So they checked off a lot of boxes. They got it back at a pretty valued price. But Alonso also checked off some boxes too. No deferred money in the contract. He's going to be the highest paid first baseman in all of baseball in 2025. He gets a chance to opt out next year. He still has, God forbid he gets hurt, he still has the security of the second year, which he would be making $24 million. And all importantly, Alonso got a contract that was not deferred. So Alonso and his team, Boras, did get some pretty big wins as well. Not as long of a contract as they initially desired, but again, Steve Cohen had to educate Scott Boras in front of Pete Alonso. And that's the thing. That's what this whole sit down, this whole problem. It was Scott Boras saying, I don't know, Pete. I don't know why they're not offering money. I don't know why there's no teams out there. I mean, like, this is old Boras, like, really like, instigating thing. Okay, so for Mets brass, the in-person meeting served the purpose of trying to ensure that Alonso would arrive at spring training with a healthy mindset, excited about returning to the team. And that's what I was alluding to before. You need this guy in the right mindset. And this is where I come to how I think Alonso will be this year. Alonso has to get in that mindset that he was in the playoffs. I actually looked at Alonso's year one when he hit the 53 home runs, when the guy was an absolute beast. And he was a beast for the first couple of years, and last year he had his moments. Obviously wasn't as good as, the first couple of years. But I was looking at what Alonso was doing in his first year. And what Alonso did in the playoffs was what he was doing in year one. And he was being patient and he was using the whole field. Really, I believe the first 8 home runs, go look at this, folks. Go look at this. The first 8 home runs of Alonso's career, none of them went to left field. I believe the first home run that he pulled the ball was his 9th home run. And that is ultra rare for a rookie. A rookie to not want to pull a home run. I mean, you would think these rookies, especially a power hitter in year one, would be so jacked up and pull. But no, he wasn't. He knew how powerful and strong he was. And that's been his one big gift, his power. He has an extremely big advantage over any other player. Like Devin Williams, that pitch, that changeup off of Devin Williams, like it was a changeup. Pete had to generate all that power when he went oppo to right center field. Not many guys in baseball can do that. I mean, there's a reason why Devin Williams has the type of ridiculous ERA over the last several years. Pete Alonso can do things that a very small amount of people could do. And go look that up, folks. His first 8 home runs, he was using the whole part of the field, right center field. I mean, he was hitting missiles to center field. I remember I believe the home run, the missile that he hit to center field in Arizona. That was phenomenal. That's when I'm like, all right, this kid is going to be special. But that's what Alonso was doing. And if Alonso can get back to that patient mindset with Juan Soto in tow and Pete Alonso driving in, literally, you're going to have Lindor on base. You'll go in the lineups. That's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. I've heard a lot of machinations of the lineup. The thing that I agree with the most is you're probably going to have Lindor and Soto, 1 and 2. I mean, I've heard Soto batting 3. I think Mike Francesa, I was listening to Mike Francesa's reaction, and Mike Francesa in his lineup, when he was thinking about it real quick, he said that he would do Lindor first, he would do Nimmo second, Soto third, and, I guess if you're going to put Nimmo second, which Nimmo are you going to get? Are you going to get the Nimmo, the high on base Nimmo, or are you going to get the Nimmo who's been slugging the last couple of years? That's the only difference. If Nimmo's the high on base guy, yeah, I'll have him in a 2. But if he's going to be more of that slugger and lower on base guy, Nimmo had over 90 RBIs last year. So if he's that type of slugger, I'd have him more down in the lineup, probably around 5. But I guess you got to really see how spring training goes. At the end of the day, we have a very good great weapon in Alonso, taking pressure off a guy like Mark Vientos, give him a chance to grow in year two. And he's going to be in a very great position because another potential lineup is you can have Mark Vientos in the three spot, and I'm not that opposed to that because Mark Vientos is the future. Having him sandwiched between Alonso at the cleanup and Soto number two, that might be a great position for this kid to just explode onto the scene. I expect a monumental, a mammoth season for Mark Vientos. Seeing what type of player he was, and then when we get to the playoffs, I love the fact that we have a lot of players right now who have thrived in the playoffs. Juan Soto, great player. Obviously, he's already won a championship with the Nationals. Lindor played great in the playoffs. Pete Alonso, you saw him play great in the playoffs. Mark Vientos, you saw him play great in the playoffs. So I like the fact that you have a bunch of guys that when the lights are the brightest, don't affect them at all. And Juan Soto playing in New York last year, now you know that this guy, as good as he is, you worry about guys sometimes with the New York effect. You know that the lights don't affect him, and the New York factor does not affect him at all. So I am so super super excited. Let me just make sure. Let me get you the last couple of details of this article. So the Mets, as I said, they offered him that $85 million contract initially over 3 years. Then they offered him that 3-year contract over $71 million. So here we go. So Mets brass, the in-person. Okay, I already read that. Okay. So the last thing that was of note at this meeting was Alonso, according to sources, expressed his love for New York and excitement level about the team during his meeting with Cohen and Stearns. So, I mean, that's what I like. If I'm David Stearns and I am Steve Cohen, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear a player who is excited. And Pete Alonso, he's the type of kid who, when he was growing up, and I'm pretty sure he was always out, always loved to play sports. He loves baseball. He loves baseball. That's why I couldn't imagine Pete Alonso sitting out for any part of spring training. Forget about the fact that he needs it because it's going to be a contract year. He loves baseball. He loves baseball. So they got it done. I'm pretty sure they saw the beginning of spring training as somewhat of a deadline. I like the fact that, the Mets front office, Steve Cohen, I mean, like, again, I continue to clap hands. I continue to praise him, heap praise on this owner. He will do whatever it takes to make sure that he does, he secures the most talent as possible. No better way to say it. Great job, Steve Cohen, David Stearns. Great job evaluating the market, assessing Alonso's value, and putting this team together. I mean, everybody's been getting on Stearns about, value contracts and about not going after the right players. But at the end of the day, David Stearns goes at his own pace. And wouldn't you want that? You want a guy who feels the pressure to get a team put together by December 15th. I know it might feel good by December 15th. Oh, yeah, we got everybody. We got everything we needed checked off. At the end of the day, are they the right players? Are they the right players? I mean, the Yankees right now, after Juan Soto, they got Devin Williams. They got Bellinger. They got Max Fried. They got Goldsmith. But at the end of the day, like, is that the best situation for them? Like, I could totally see Bellinger not having a great year. I could see Goldsmith getting old because he is old. I could see Devin Williams. I could see him performing, but I I'm not I'm not over the moon about the Yankees. I mean, besides Aaron Judge in that lineup, I'm not really afraid of anybody. I mean, the pitching staff is decent, but they're often injured. Their bullpen is the best part of the Yankees. So I was hearing a lot of, clap hands for the Yankees, but I love our offseason so much more. And I think I've seen a lot of consensus around from baseball execs and all around. Everybody is praising this last move. That doesn't mean much. A lot of people right now are giving Stearns recognition. Finally, the guy's getting recognition for having an A offseason. I said that, right off the bat, getting a Juan Soto, you're in the B range. Getting a Juan Soto, maybe it was B minus at that time. Sean Manaea, AJ Minter, Pete Alonso. I think right now at this point, he's around an A minus A. I mean, the only thing to get it to an A plus, I keep reiterating this, is to get that next frontline starting pitcher. And this is what gets us to our next conversation. And this is where, I think I was listening to some chatter and, people are saying, oh, we got Pete Alonso. Now we got to get a frontline starter. And then people were saying, chill, relax. You got Pete Alonso. Don't, be a little respectful. Honestly, I think it's a very fair reaction to want to know the next move because right now we are in win now mode. It's not like our goal is to be good, be competitive. No, our goal, if you're going to spend all this money that Steve Cohen is, if you're going to invest in a Juan Soto, bring Alonso back, and folks, we're bringing it back for 1 year. So that 1 year better be pretty damn special. I mean, obviously it's a 2-year contract, but it's, might be a 1-year contract. So this 1 year, we are all in my opinion. I believe right now when the dust settles, and the dust is settling, folks. The dust is settling. I've said that, I foresee trades coming, but I think that Stearns wanted to see what talent he can secure from the free agent market, then see who he has on his roster, and then start making moves, start making trades. So I think basically all of the big free agent signings are done. All the big free agent signings are done. I think right now the dust is beginning to settle. You have a lot of options at second base. Your outfield situation. You have a couple extra outfielders. You have a couple extra starters. Tyler McGill. A couple prospects looking on the outside, looking in. Brett Beatty, he's a guy that is going to have a very limited action now with Pete Alonso coming back. So now you see some chips that you can trade. And then if you couple these chips with, a decent prospect, maybe you could get a Michael King back. But I think right now you have to take advantage of this situation. The Padres are in a very desperate situation. I continue to say that. Everybody keeps saying, wait to the trade deadline. We've seen so many tumultuous trade deadlines. If you are a Mets fan, especially in the last couple of years, when last year, I think even though we got some talent, we didn't get a big frontline starting pitcher, even like a Jack Flaherty, like that would have been, pitcher or piece that helped us in our World Series run. Blackburn, unfortunately, he got hurt, but still, he wasn't of that top echelon. We didn't get a frontline starter. I think we have our opportunity now. Take advantage of uncertainty with the Padres, or make them a legitimate offer. Maybe take back some money, contract value, eat some money, because you never know when the season starts, even spring training starts. Pitchers get injured on certain teams being like the Yankees, the Dodgers. Those teams are going to be ultra aggressive because those teams are all in as well. So, David Stearns, I'm pretty sure he hasn't let me down yet. And if for all you David Stearns, I don't want to say haters, but some people who aren't, I don't know what the right word is right now because I'm not you, but there are some people who don't really support David Stearns right now. I still say give the guy time. At least give him time to fail. He hasn't failed yet. Last year, his first year was supposed to be like development year. We were supposed to develop the kids. It wasn't supposed to be a year where we got to 2 games short of the World Series. And I know we had a bit of a miraculous run. I know we had to have heroics at the end of the season, Lindor, Alonso in round 1. But the fact of the matter is we won 89 games and we put ourselves in a position to be there, to get to, if we had those extra or those big hits, that it would advance us. And I think that gives a lot of credit to a guy like David Stearns in his first year when expectations were pretty low, when the bullpen was decimated. We all forget that. The bullpen was decimated last year. Raley got hurt early. Drew Smith got hurt early. And then we had some horrible horrible performances by guys we were relying on. Ottavino, I'm looking at you. That was a guy that was almost penciled in as our eighth inning guy last year. Think about that, folks. It was Raley and Ottavino as our eighth inning going into last year. Now, how much better is our eighth inning situation? I mean, right now we got a slew of guys. AJ Minter, it could be Daniel Nunez, Ryan Stanek. I mean, we have a whole slew of guys at the end of the bullpen and so many more options, so many more options. And, that is because of Mr. David Stern. So I got to give him all the credit in the world. So great job. So I'm going to continue to have confidence in the guy until he lets me down. If he lets us down, if 2025 turns out to be a disaster, then obviously we will get on him. But let's be fair. Let's be rational. I know we're fans. Fans sometimes aren't rational. But, let's continue to try to be rational. So that's that. But I think really the time is now. Brett Beatty, Tyler McGill. And Tyler McGill, he's a guy coming off, in my opinion, his best season as a pro. Last year, his Ks were up. His ERA was, just around 4. I think in the last couple of outings, his last couple of starts, that's where teams can really hone in on. I mean, the guy, like I said, it was striking out a lot of guys, almost 11 Ks per 9 innings, a little short of 11 Ks, about 10 and a half Ks per 9 innings. So his strikeout ratio was up. The guy's got a very decent velocity. I think he's a guy that teams would actually, look at and say, hey, he's got 3 years left of arbitration, 3 years left. So you're going to pencil that guy in for the next 3 years. That's value, folks. If you send that guy to the Padres, he's going to be paid minimal. I believe his salary for 2025 is $2.5 million. So you trade a guy like Michael King, you replace him with Tyler McGill, and King is good. But the upside of McGill, if McGill pitches in the mid 3s, gets you between 10 and 15 wins, and then you can get a Brett Beatty, a guy with potential, and then you can get like a top 15 prospect. And that's not bad at all. That is not bad at all. And I think it is foresight on the Padres for, looking to the future. Brett Beatty's a guy with a lot of potential, former top prospect, and Tyler McGill is a guy with potential as well. And if you're the Mets, I would consider trading him now because he's never going to have as high value as he has right now. He's 29 and a half years old, so he's getting to that proverbial magic 30 number, although he is locked up for the next 3 years. So you don't have to worry about making that decision to sign him long term. But I think his value for the Mets is only going to diminish over time. He could, like I said, he could show his, take off. But, for the Mets, I think there's higher upside in trading him off, using him as a chip and getting that frontline starter. So that's another question that I pose to you. Would you seize the moment? And actually, I don't want to use that terminology, that phrasing, because that might be influential to your decision. Would you make a move now or wait to the deadline? So would you make a move for a frontline starter now or deadline? Wait to the deadline. All right, folks. So again, I'm going to continue to thank you as always. If you didn't get a chance to like the video, please like the video. Subscribe if you are new. Even if you come here multiple times, I'd love you to join the channel. Obviously, we are not perfect here. Who is? But we are trying to get the channel in a good direction. We're trying to grow, and we would love you to grow with us. And I really appreciate that. All right, folks. Have a great night, day. Right now, what time is it? It's like 4:45 in the morning. So you're going to probably be listening to this in the morning or in the afternoon. So enjoy. Have a great day, and I will get you the latest updates when they come.